Brace yourself, I take you on a trip down memory lane. This is not a rap on how I'm slinging crack or moon cocaine. This is cul-de-sac and plenty cognac and major pain. Not the drill sergeant, but the stress that weighing on your brain. It was me.
What's up, y'all? This is Landon with Straight Outta Hip Hop. It's been a long time since I've come at you guys with an album review, and even longer since I've hit you with a video blog. But I wanted to do it in video format because, a lot of times it takes me a while to write these track-by-track breakdowns of these new albums that come out. But, what better one to kick it back off with than this Kendrick Lamar album, Good Kid, Mad City, his studio album debut, although it's his sophomore effort after Section 80. And so, I wanted to make sure that I came back with this one. I anticipated it to be a great album, but I want to tell you guys what I thought about it after sitting with it and hearing it a few times. But, given how much hype this album has gotten, I'm sure you guys have already seen a lot of reviews, especially track-by-track reviews, because, because it was supposed to be a full-length story. Each track is so significant to the album. It's kind of hard to talk about it without really getting into at least most, if not all of the album or all of the songs on the album. So instead, what I want to do is focus on this conversation that's being had and this comparison of Good Kid, Mad City to Nas's debut album, Illmatic, the classic Illmatic. And what I want to talk about is if Kendrick's effort is even deemed, being compared to Illmatic, one of the greatest bodies of work we've seen in hip-hop history. And so, that's what I want to focus on in this one, and then on the next album review, we'll get back to the regular format. But that said, let's start with the similarities. And I think the biggest similarity is that both Kendrick and Nas, with their respective albums, do a fantastic job of their description through their lyrics of the environment that they're coming out of. Both of them, you feel like you have an understanding of where they are. You can see where they are. You feel like you are also in that environment, or at least seeing the environment. And I think that's where the biggest comparison is. Not so much in the sound or anything of that nature, but just the description within both. There are very few, if any, other albums that have done it to the level that these two albums have done it. Of course, with Nas, you have New York State of Mind, the first track coming right after the intro, which once again it puts you there. You can see the maze that he's running through. You know that this is the concrete jungle of New York, his Queensbridge projects, and you have an understanding of what he goes through on a day-to-day basis. And then throughout the album, he kind of just builds upon that description and those elements. On the other hand, and this is where I think the two albums kind of separate or differ, Kendrick Lamar's album deals with specific incidents that take place, that have taken place in his life, and he doesn't necessarily feature on the general everyday issues that surround him, but more focuses on these specific accounts that, at least throughout the album, occur over the span of a day and a night, whether that's actually happened or whether each of these incidents occurred over several days or several years or months or whatever, it remains unknown. But that is the difference, is that Kendrick Lamar is very, very personal in this, and a lot more specific when it comes to the accounts that he gives, while Nas is a little bit more general and just talks about kind of what everybody goes through on a day-to-day basis, while still referring to himself in the first person. So, that said, there's not one that's better than the other or anything of that nature. It just really would depend upon your preference. It may even be just your preference in the moment that you're listening. You could argue maybe that because Nas was a little bit more general, that Illmatic is more relatable, because you may not have because he doesn't make it too tailor-made to his own lifestyle, that you feel like only he went through it and nobody else. But on the other hand, Kendrick did a fantastic job of making it very tailor-made to his own life, but still make you feel like you could relate to it and that you've been in a similar situation. So, Apple, it's really hard to say if one is more relatable than the other. Kendrick did a very good job of making that balance, of finding that balance, and I don't think that Nas was really trying to be quite as personal as Kendrick was. I think he was just trying to give you some sort of understanding of what his environment was during those times when he was growing up. So, but the other similarity is that both of those focus on their teenage years in those communities. Nas obviously being out in New York, in Queensbridge, while Kendrick Lamar is out in California, in Compton. Two extremes, but yet very similar situations. And their dealings with their peers, with the police, with young women. You can really see the similarities between the two, which is also why there's probably this talk about Kendrick Lamar having an album very similar to Illmatic. When it comes to the hip hop elements of just the songs in general, if I had to choose, I'd maybe give a little bit of an upper hand to Nas in the lyricism column, while I'd probably give a little bit of an upper hand to Kendrick Lamar in the artistry and creativity column. Once again, we're really nitpicking if you want to do that. Kendrick Lamar's lyrics are still on point throughout. And obviously Nas had some fantastic producers on Illmatic, legendary producers, the classic boom bap beats on a lot of them. But Kendrick Lamar, the artistry that goes into it, there's a lot of times where in the middle of songs the beat will switch. There's a lot of abstract beats, but it all flows, and all of the production really goes along with the story that he's trying to tell. So once again, it's really, you can't really say one is better than the other, but that is the way that each of those albums were created. And so, you would really have to be the judge in terms of maybe what you like more, the style you like more, things of that nature. When it comes to saying that, somebody has an Illmatic or, one album is better than the other, especially when it comes to the classics that we know versus the new school. I know people are really testy, and I'm really, really careful about making those comparisons and those statements. I would not say that Good Kid, Mad City is Illmatic by any means, or that it's better by any means. But I would say that Good Kid, Mad City is this generation's Illmatic. What I mean by that is people that grew up or were born in the 80s, grew up in the 90s, maybe even people born in the early 90s, who can really relate to, this modern day lifestyle, really, that Kendrick, is only 24, 25 years old, that can really relate to him. They will really appreciate this because there hasn't been any other album that's really been able to, build upon their feelings, their emotions, their experiences like this album has. And I think that's what Illmatic represented in '94 when it came out. In terms of the full picture that Nas painted, and especially, with hip hop really trying to fight to be on the map and be respected, Illmatic represented what, especially people in New York, but people throughout the country were going through and feeling at the time, and he did it in a way that was poetic, but still real and resonated with people. And I think that I don't know if we've had an album that has done that since Illmatic, at least for this generation born in the 80s. And so for that reason, I would say that this is this generation's Illmatic. So listen for yourself. You make the comparison. You be the judge. Do you think that Good Kid, Mad City should be in any way compared to Illmatic? Is it truly off base? I know there's going to be a lot of, especially older hip hop heads who, just deem it blasphemous that Illmatic is compared to anything that came out after 1997. You know, and in a lot of ways, I'm the same way about some things, but I think in this instance, it at least, you know, it is definitely it's definitely reminiscent of that feeling for this time. So, but you know, like I said, you be the judge. Is there any other album that you think it should be compared to outside of Illmatic? What is your favorite track on Good Kid, Mad City? You know, for me, it's kind of hard to pick a favorite because each song is so vital to the album, to the whole body of work, and without one song, you know, the album is changed completely, and so they're all stronger together as opposed to individually, which I think is another difference between Illmatic and Good Kid, Mad City. You know, Illmatic, while it was a story in a sense, that's not the foundation that it was built upon. So Nas had a little bit more free range of jumping around back and forth with different topics and things of that nature, while Kendrick stuck to a specific storyline. You know, so that's another difference between the two. But once again, one is not better than the other. Kendrick did an amazing job of using skits. I don't think I've heard of an album where skits were used better. But, you know, if you want to just listen all the way through and not want to skip around or whatever, or if you don't want to listen to skits, maybe that's something that from time to time, you know, you won't really appreciate quite as much, you know, as opposed to Illmatic. It's the intro and then it's just 9 tracks all the way through, no skits, no anything, just bars on top of bars on top of bars. But with Good Kid, Mad City, you need the skits to kind of take you along that journey. And once again, without them, the album changes drastically. So I want to hear from you. I want to know what you guys think. You know, make sure that you visit the blog straight out of OUTTA hiphop.com if you're watching this on YouTube or anywhere else. Otherwise, if you're on the blog, go ahead and comment. Comment on YouTube as well. And, you know, go ahead and check out any other posts that you may have missed thus far. And I will see you guys on the next post and the next album review. And we'll get back to the regular format on the next one. All right, peace.
It ain't hard to tell. I excel, then prevail. The mic is contacted, I attract clientele. My mic check is life or death, breathing a sniper's breath. I exhale the yellow smoke, a Buddha through righteous steps, deep like the shining, sparkle like a diamond sneaker.